This episode of Going in Raw is sponsored by Liquid IV. The holidays can be a marathon of travel and family gatherings, so be sure to stay hydrated through it all with Liquid IV.
One stick of Liquid IV and 16 ounces of water hydrates better than water alone and gives you 8 vitamins and nutrients, plus 3 times the electrolytes, leading sports drinks so you can stay hydrated for all the road trips, get-togethers, and parties this holiday season.
So tear, pour, and live more and stay hydrated through the holidays with Liquid IV. Get 20% off your first order of Liquid IV when you go to liquidiv.com and use code RAW at checkout. That's 20% off your first order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code RAW at liquidiv.com. This episode of Going in Raw is also sponsored by Aura Frames. From big events to life's everyday moments, Aura Frames makes it easy to upload unlimited photos directly from your phone so your favorite memories are always within view.
Named the #1 digital photo frame by Wirecutter, Aura Frames can be preloaded and personalized to make a truly unforgettable gift this holiday season.
So save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames by using promo code RAW at checkout. That's AURA frames.com, promo code RAW. This deal is exclusive to listeners, so get yours now in time for the holidays. Terms and conditions apply. Hey, friendo, Steve here.
Larson.
And welcome back to Going in Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to this coming weekend. Specifically, I believe it's on Saturday night, because it'd be weird if they ran Saturday night's main event on a Sunday night. We're going to be doing our live watch along and review right afterwards, and our star ratings the next day, Larson.
Yeah.
Over at the Friendo Club channel. But this is Going in Raw. It's Wednesday. You know what that means. It's time for us to respond to your hot takes. As always, we get these hot takes from our community tab, and you got to make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. You have your notify bell on to make sure you get notified whenever there's a new hot takes thread up so that you could possibly get your hot take read on the show. Larson, what is the first hot take we've got on the stove today?
Hot take. I believe this says Ronan the Analyst.
Okay, yeah, Ronan the Analyst.
So let's see what the analysis says here. Solo is a better faction leader than Roman Reigns. His bloodline is more together than the original ever was, which just fell in line due to fear of Roman. So in terms of actual leadership skills, quality leadership skills, I'm not talking about manipulation.
Yeah.
Is Solo a better leader than Roman?
Well, let me ask you this.
Sure.
Does everybody in Solo's bloodline feel like they're pretty happy in their situation? Do they feel like they're pretty secure people? They're confident men?
I mean, I never really got, maybe one instance where Jacob Fatu looked at the Ulafalo a little bit. Otherwise, I don't really see anybody gunning for Solo's spot. Everybody seems pretty content.
Well, you know, it's one thing to have, even in the situation you're talking about, it's one thing to have personal motivation, personal ambition, I should say. You know, Solo's just looking at his future. He's like, hey, you know what? One day. But like, nobody seems to be like, for example, Jey Uso under Roman's reign, always seemingly on the verge of an emotional breakdown.
Yeah.
You know, like Jey, that poor son of a bitch. So 1/3 of that bloodline, an absolute mess. Jimmy has sometimes seemed checked out, seemed to be just along for the ride, and then he was the guy who kicked Roman in the first place. So like Jimmy's kind of a mess too. And then you get Sami Zayn weaseling his way in there, always kind of being a little bit on the under thumb situation also. The other guys, one of the dudes, guy you just mentioned, is constantly proclaiming, Solo, I love you. The other guys seem really excited to be there.
Yes. I mean, like the story is pretty much with the bad bloodline is that Solo brought them into WWE, fat contract.
Right.
Plush accommodations. I mean, maybe compared to, I don't know. Maybe not plush to the same degree as OG bloodline, but probably pretty good.
Better than they had it in New Japan, evidently.
Maybe.
Or MLW, depending on who we're talking about.
So they love Solo for providing them with this opportunity.
Right.
And therefore, they are loyal
yeah.
to Solo.
I would be in a heartbeat if somebody came along and was like, I'm gonna give look, right now you're doing these $50 on a hot dog dates in New Japan. Come to the major leagues. The Gorillas didn't even have to go to NXT and make that 5-figure paycheck. No, they're making 6 figures immediately in WWE.
Thanks to who?
Solo. So yes, in terms of being a man of the people, a man for workers, Solo is the best.
So here's another thing, too. You mentioned individual ambition. Obviously, Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga, Tongaloa probably have their own individual ambitions. Solo knows how to manage the egos, so they work as a cohesive unit.
Yes, they do.
Roman didn't know how to manage egos, so he had to manipulate them.
Right, exactly. And he used their ambition against them. I mean, how many times was it basically insinuated that if the Usos didn't hold on to the tag team titles or win them in the first place, that they'd be on the outs, that their families wouldn't be fed anymore? We don't even know if they'd be in WWE anymore. Yep. On the other hand, Solo didn't seem to really give a shit one way or the other if the Bloodline got those tag titles or not.
He probably thought, at least we had them for a while.
Right, exactly. He's appreciative for what he has. Roman just wants more unrealistic and expectations. Now, in terms of success being the metric, I'm afraid Roman as a leader probably has Solo Sikoa beat there.
I will say this. If you look at each member of the respective Bloodline factions, Roman Solo, Usos, Guerrillas of Destiny, and then I guess Sammy, Jacob Fatu, every member of the OG Bloodline had been or was an established presence in WWE with a great deal of success under their belts already. So them achieving further success, not a huge stretch. You know, because that success had been established.
Sure.
Whereas Solo, Tama Tonga, Tongaloa, Jacob Fatu, largely, even Solo to a degree in relative terms, new to the company. Not the same level of success because they haven't been there as long. Now, if you give Solo, Tama Tonga, Tongaloa, Jacob Fatu, same tenure WWE prior to forming a faction,
yeah, it might be different.
That might be a more even playing field in terms of success.
That could be. In terms of like direct head-on-head or team-on-team matchups, we've really only had two. We've really only had 2 head-to-heads. Like we had the 6-man, and then we had the War Games. Yeah. And it's 1-1 there.
1-1.
I kind of feel like Solo. I think this hot take might have turned me around. Put your one up for Solo Sikoa. Would you just say the name, Solo Sikoa?
You know, Solo or Roman, for that matter, never said the name. He said, "Put your ones up for your tribal chief."
Okay. Next,
acknowledge me. That's what they say.
I'm going to acknowledge John O'Davies here because he's got a really hot take, and I like this hot take because he says AEW is actually really good at the moment. But the negativity around the company, for example, low attendance, /ratings, and disingenuous IWC criticism has created a false perception that the product is really bad.
So AEW is not really bad. I mean, there's a lot of disingenuous takes that are like, oh, this is WCW 2000 levels of atrocious wrestling television. Evidently, those people have never watched WCW in the year 2000 because AEW's got a long way to go before it's that level of bad. What I feel like AEW is inconsistent.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And I get it, writing wrestling television ain't easy, especially when you keep adding more time in terms of your weekly wrestling docket you got to write for. That's just AEW. It doesn't take into account Ring of Honor. We said this before. Bandwidth seems to be Tony Khan maybe his problem in terms of having too many responsibilities to focus maybe his primary energies on any single one of them. There'll be, heck, even within an episode of Dynamite, there'll be like a stretch of half hours. Like, damn, this is really good. This is what I want AEW to be all the time. And that'll be 15 minutes of, what the heck's even going on here?
Yeah.
You'll have 1 or 2 episodes in a row that are pretty good, and then 2 or 3 episodes are like, I don't remember anything that happened. Nothing feels consequential. Nothing's affecting me. I appreciate there is a renewed emphasis on trying to tell stories.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether all those stories are hitting or not, that's another question entirely, but they're trying.
Yeah.
Nothing, at least nothing I could think of when I watch AEW. I'm like, oh, I feel embarrassed watching this.
Oh, that is a big difference. So I will say this. If we're bringing up the worst of the worst, WCW 2000, I will proffer this. The one similarity that I do kind of feel is it would be appropriate to make, or that I see, is I believe that AEW, one of their main issues is they've set too many things up in the past that it didn't pay off on. And basically, in a way, Tony Khan has lacked patience enough to let things play out and pay off.
Mm-hmm.
And in my opinion, a lot, because they do have a lot of titles over there. I mean, they have the same number of titles as WWE, but WWE splits it over 2 different brands, so it kind of doesn't feel like way. AEW's lack of seeing things through kind of feels in a way like WCW 2000 when there was no patience there either.
Yeah.
You know, they would just do something and then try something else and try something else. And Vince Russo, and there's so much turnover in the creative that it was always restarting. And I feel like AEW has restarted multiple storylines without resolving previous storylines. They've just kickstarted new ones.
Yeah.
And I do feel to a degree that their titles in general feel less like they kind of matter as much as maybe they did in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And the extreme version of that is WCW 2000, where it was like, God damn, nothing matters here whatsoever.
Yeah.
The huge difference is WCW was throwing so much different obvious bullshit at the wall to see what sticks. And even if something stuck, they weren't going to stick to it necessarily. AEW, I feel like the reason why that they've dropped a lot of stuff is because, and I'm giving them some benefit of the doubt here, is because they felt, oh, well, this will work better, so we're just going to drop that and go with this. And it seems like it's a good-natured attempt to get stuff going, but it's like, no, just stick with what you're doing. And that sounds very vague, but like there's multiple examples of that where it's like, man, you guys started with the Tony Khan got dropped on his head by the Young Bucks. Well, the New Elite never really got to like the second act. You know what I mean? Before it just sort of fell apart. And they replaced it with Mox, and this company's no longer yours. And then that story is kind of undercooked. In my opinion, the reason why AEW fails to really generate the kind of buzz it needs is because people have a hard time getting emotionally attached to the stories because the stories just sort of fizzle out and there's no follow through with those stories. It's not one thing happens because this happened, because that happened, because that happened.
You know, and I think I wonder if part of that is because Tony Khan books his programming around matches he wants to see or he thinks his audience wants to see, regardless if they necessarily make sense in terms of what's going on in terms of the stories in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
Most glaring example of this is obvious that he wanted to have Chris Statlander versus Mercedes Moné on pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then seemingly overnight turned Statlander face.
Yeah.
And did a promo. She did a promo which explained why she left Stokely.
Mm-hmm.
Match was great.
Yeah.
But imagine the impact that match could have had from a storytelling perspective if you told the story of Statlander becoming, disinterested in aligning herself with Stokely.
Yeah.
There's a story to be told there that Tony Khan just decided not to tell because he wanted to fast forward to the match. I'm sure if we put our heads together, we could probably think of countless other examples of instances where it seemed pretty clear He wanted this match, and just in his mind took the most direct path to get there rather than the most interesting or narratively fulfilling path.
And here's the thing, John O'Davies, I'm really glad that he enjoys AEW.
Same here.
What he's talking about is an incredibly subjective thing, though. It's what's good for him isn't going to be, and this is where the problem is. And I'm kind of curious to hear what you say about this. It's probably going to be less of a glaring problem when AEW lands on Max, because we're going to have no idea what the viewership numbers are going to be.
Yeah.
We know now because of places like WrestleNomics, we know because of the Nielsen ratings being published, et cetera, that AEW's ratings have taken a sharp hit over the course of 2024. And so we can look at that and say, okay, well, why is this? And so the fans of AEW who like the fact that these stories are motivated by, hey, let's start with the concept of what match do we want to see and then move backwards, as opposed to let's start with what match do we want to see and let's see how we can get there, as opposed to like, it doesn't really matter as long as we get the match. For those people, that's fine. I mean, dude, moving from Twitter to Blue Sky, I've seen that a lot of people there have bought into what AEW is doing. And every week when Dynamite's on or Collision's on, oh my God, this is like one of the best. And that's great for them. That's awesome for them. The problem is going to be, is that style of presentation of pro wrestling going to continue to erode the audience, which it seemingly has, or are they going to be able to continue along that route and somehow build their fan base? Now, once it gets to Max, we'll just know whether or not it gets canceled or not. I mean, I don't know. Maybe reports will come out from Max executives talking to Sean Ross Sapp or Brandon Thurston or whatever that, the numbers are really bad on Max. And so they're thinking of canceling it because the numbers took a big hit on TV because a lot of people are watching on Max. I don't know that we're going to have a more concrete, but you can't tell me if Dynamite by 2026 sinks down to 250,000 viewers. You can't tell me that's in safe space. You can't tell me that's on safe ground.
Yeah,
you know?
No, you can't. You can't. Yeah. At that time slot with the money they're paying AEW, if they're getting 250, 300,000, that's precarious ground there for the company then, because that's even beyond just whatever the perception is of AEW amongst, wrestling fans, based on the viewership numbers, based on attendance. When it comes to dollars and cents, if Warner Brothers Discovery, who already is in some financial difficulty, can't sell ads against AEW that makes them money, it will not last.
Yeah, and here's the other thing too. I was going to say something and now I completely forgot what it was. But I mean, look, streaming services these days especially have been known to overpay for, product, and
they lose money left and right. Yeah.
They do. Yeah. And maybe that'll continue, maybe that'll be a thing. But I don't know. Either they'll figure it out or they won't, and we'll see how committed Tony Khan is to this. If they end up getting booted off their deal, which I have no idea, like, if Max or if Warner Brothers has the ability to do that. If they get booted out, then I guess we'll see. But we were always under the assumption, it's been reported that a deal like this was the thing keeping them alive as a company. Like Tony Khan was confident that he can get a deal with Turner, and that's why he put them on TV, with the understanding that he thought that he could make it popular enough to get the big deal they just got. Well, that mission has been accomplished.
Profitable, yeah.
And just like WWE, they were getting, it's like, oh my God, their ratings are getting so low. Are they going to be able to keep on getting these big deals? And they kept on getting big deals. So for all we know, they will last.
Yeah.
And I hope they do. In terms of like the way they're doing their presentation right now, I just don't know that it's meant for a wider audience. Oh, this is the point I was going to make. He's talking about the perception of the company. Well, perception is spread by word of mouth, by shows like us, by what you see on social media. I don't think they have lost that many viewers because there's a negative perception about them. I think they've lost that many viewers because those viewers have become disinterested and they found other things to watch.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
the talk, especially on wrestling internet, wrestling social media, is such a small fraction of wrestling, the wrestling fan base overall, that you can't gauge what the actual perception or enthusiasm for an audience is based strictly on that.
Yeah.
You know, declining ratings, declining attendance, those are actual things you could see that actually are, you can see with your own eyes, you know, you could see all those empty seats. That is more of an accurate reflection of enthusiasm for a product, whether some disingenuous person is tweeting all sorts of negative stuff about AEW.
Yeah. Anyways, before we get to the next hot take, let's go ahead and talk about the sponsor for today's episode, Larson.
Let's do it. This episode of Going In Raw is sponsored by Liquid IV. The holiday season, Steve, it gets crazy, man. It could be a whirlwind. All the travel and family gatherings we do this time of year, it's easy to forget to take care of yourself.
That's exactly why I always keep Liquid IV on hand so I can stay hydrated no matter what the holiday season can bring. One stick of Liquid IV and 16 ounces of water hydrates you better than water alone and gives you 8 vitamins and nutrients, plus 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drink.
You know what? Speaking of seasons, our never-ending basketball season, it goes on forever. It's still in full swing. And Liquid IV is an essential part of our semi-weekly hoops contest. I honestly don't know. I keep draining half-court shots twice a week, every week. I'm looking to dunk on you sometime in 2025, being perfectly honest. No way I'd be able to do that without Liquid IV.
No, well, that's true, but you could also just get rid of the second part of that clause. There's no way you'll be able to do that. You're like a million years old. So, that said, tear, pour, and live more, and stay hydrated through the holidays with Liquid IV. Get 20% off your first order of Liquid IV when you go to liquidiv.com and use code RAW at checkout. That's 20% off your first order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code RAW at liquidiv.com.
And let's get a word from our sponsor, Aura Frame, Steve. I take quite a few pictures on my phone. Yet those pictures are always seemingly stuck on the camera roll. And when I want to look at them or share them with my family, I spend a bunch of time scrolling through the phone, searching for what I'm trying to find. It takes forever.
It really does, man. People get bored. You're just sitting there flicking at your phone, and they're like, okay, I've got better things to do than watch you look for pictures.
Yeah.
On the other hand, if you're looking for an easy way to share those pictures, check out Aura Frames. Aura makes it easy to upload unlimited photos directly from your phone so your favorite memories are always within view. I've got a ton of my favorite memories. Oh, one just loaded up right there. It's my old dog, Gypsy, bugging Lacey right there in the backyard. I was taking some pictures, and I happened to catch an awesome moment between them. I've talked about this before. I've got my mom's Christmas present sorted out. I got another Aura frame for her. I'm going to preload that with nothing but pictures of me on it. It's going to be like a Vinny Vinci on SmackDown. Vittoria. Curious? Maybe. I don't know.
You should take 1,000 new pictures of you.
Yeah.
And put all of them on the frame.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of doing, and that's a great idea, so I'm going to get started on that in just a moment. In any event, you can get one of these as well and upload a ton onto it from your phone. Favorite memories, always within view, filled with, or you can do this as a gift as well. You can personalize and preload the frame, fill it with photos of life's huge milestones or pictures of fun, everyday moments, and it'd make for an unforgettable gift.
So save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver mat frames by using promo code RAW at checkout. That's auraframes.com, promo code RAW. This deal is exclusive to listeners, so get yours now in time for the holidays. Terms and conditions apply.
All right, man, let's go ahead and move on with these hot takes. The next one is from Timur26, who says, moving on more AEW. AEW needs to stop with the highly competitive 50-50 matches between upper and lower card wrestlers, especially when upper card wrestler is about to have a high-profile match in the short future. It doesn't make the upper carder look strong ahead of their upcoming big match. The big one that stuck to my mind was when Swerve Strickland had a competitive match with Dustin Rhodes at last year's World's End, when that should have been a squash, especially since Swerve attacked him before the match with a concrete block.
So Meltzer and Alvarez just recently had a conversation about the same idea because Mina Shirakawa recently had a match against Emi Sakura.
Oh, I heard that was really good on Collision, right?
Yeah, but apparently Emi dominated the match, even though Mina has a title match on Dynamite this week.
Oh, okay.
And so Alvarez was giving Meltzer a bunch of crap about why that was an issue.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it. I don't disagree with this. I think there's far too often where there's instances where you can have a highly competitive 50-50 match between an upper card wrestler and a lower card wrestler if the express purpose of that match is to make the undercard wrestler look better.
Sure.
For example, when Alan Angels had that really good competitive match against Kenny Omega years back.
Yeah.
And it helped to elevate Alan Angels.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But when you have, for this instance, Swerve and Dustin, I remember that match. I'm thinking, why is this match still going on?
Oh, I remember that one.
Attacked them with the concrete, the cinder block before the match, and why is this lasting 12 minutes? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So apparently, going back to Dave and Alvarez, what they're saying is that even though there's producers in AEW, it's up to the talent to put together their matches. So if it's a situation, like with Swerve and Dustin here, maybe it's a situation where like, hey, we want to tell this story, and I think that we can accomplish this without necessarily anybody seeing this, because this is the example mentioned.
Sure.
I'm just going to use this as an example. Without somebody necessarily overseeing how that match fits into the overall story they're trying to tell.
Well, that's great. Yeah, that's kind of crazy. Because there's an overarching narrative to everything in pro wrestling. I mean, you can have matches in a vacuum, sure, but like, I don't know, like, yeah, because if you think about it, like if you're Emi Sakura, who's a veteran who like everybody loves, right?
Yeah.
And then you're
highly
Mina,
respected, yeah.
highly respected, yeah. And you're Mina. Well, Mina should take care of business pretty decently there. But then does it lay on her to say, hey, Emi, so here's the deal. We're going to have this match, but I need to look really strong.
It puts talent in a weird position.
Yeah, right? That is strange. Like, okay, let's break kayfabe a little bit here. When our dude, put it this way. Our dude is running Action Coast Wrestling on behalf of us, the owners, right? Mm-hmm. Whenever we go to an Action Coast show where I see the results of what's going on, like I'm not sitting there saying, hey, this person's up, this person's down, right?
Yeah.
Whenever we see what's going on there, because the shows run basically monthly, there's a through line. There's even a monthly indie shows, if they're run properly,
Tell
there's
stories.
an overarching narrative.
Yep.
And 1 month leads to 1 month leads to 1 month. And so it's like the stories have to make sense in what happens in the matches.
Yes.
And so even on that basis, when you have a booker who knows what he's doing, it's like you got to make sure, okay, this. But here's the thing, like, I know that's not everything because I've seen in AEW shit that makes sense.
Yeah,
totally.
totally.
We've seen before where that's not the case.
What it kind of felt like with the Swerve Dustin match, because it was supposed to be Swerve versus Keith Lee.
Yeah.
And then Keith Lee got pulled late.
Yeah, right.
From the match because he was injured.
You think they just copy and pasted the same idea?
That's what it kind of felt like, because it was like a 12-minute match and it was super competitive. And so I wonder if it was by and large, hey, these are the story beats we have laid out, and let's just follow through with this rather than having to, scrap it all and put together a new match. I don't know.
Because you have a good point, because how do you tell Dustin, all right, well, that worked for Keith. But you're like 15 years older than even Keith Lee is. I don't think it should work for you, old man.
Swerve, turned on Keith Lee, smashed the cinder block on his chest. Like, this should be an intense thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know it's without someone overseeing everything.
Yeah.
It's up to the talent to potentially have some kind of tough conversations about what exactly gets done during these matches. If it's a situation where, whoever, say Jerry Lynn, is in charge of producing that match, well, he goes to the wrestlers to say, all right, you got 8 minutes.
Yeah.
If that's all the direction they're given.
Number one, that's a great job.
I know.
Just relaying how much time that I'm sure he does plenty more.
Are there notes regarding, hey,
There's
make sure you hit
be.
this. You think there's got to be something like hit this, and this because it's going to feed into what we're doing. But maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, we have no idea what goes on backstage.
None.
But I see this point of view and understanding the Emmy match. Yeah, I could see how like, oh, hey, guess what? You've got this match. Oh, cool. I get to wrestle Emmy. That's going to be a lot of fun. Here's the thing, though. We need to do this a certain way because as opposed to like, oh, let's just put on a really cool match people are going to talk about. You got to sacrifice that. You can still try to do that, but you can't sacrifice the greater story if that's what's happening there.
Yeah.
And by the way, we've seen the same thing in WWE from time to time. It's not like this is exclusive.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can understand like AEW kind of does that. I could see that being the case a bit.
And I guess I've made the point before that so much AEW is about performance. And part of that is, they're known for putting on some of the best matches, and that's kind of their calling card. So if you got a match that could be really good and really interesting, do you sacrifice that for the larger story? The story could probably benefit from, like imagine if Swerve versus Max Caster was like a 15-minute highly competitive match.
Hey, that is one situation where we can confidently say it's
they got it
the
right.
larger story. Yeah,
they got it right because it helped both of their stories.
Yeah,
that made all the sense in the world for that to be a squash match in Swerve's favor. But imagine if they were like, all right, you two, you got 12 minutes, and that was their only direction.
Yeah.
That puts both of them in a tough spot because they got to protect their brands. They got to protect their stories.
Swerve's like, all right, I'm going to crush this guy for 12 minutes straight.
Yeah. How many house calls can I get in 12 minutes?
The over-under's like 35 on that one.
So,
oh, man.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if what Meltzer and Alvarez was talking about is accurate, that it's up to the talent to put their matches together almost exclusively, I guess that's another instance where whether it's Tony Khan, producers, whoever, need to be more involved to make sure there's a through line in terms of the story being told.
Yeah.
For both competitors.
Yeah.
They also said that Emmy has never won a televised match on cable TV in AEW. She's won on Dark Elevation, but never on Dynamite or Collision, which is the point they were making is she hasn't won on TV. People are used to seeing her lose on TV, so no one's going to be upset if she loses again on TV,
Yeah. Yeah. Which itself is a problem because she's great.
It is a problem because she's great. Yeah.
Let's move on to a couple other fantastic women's wrestlers. With this next hot take from Canaldo Bruno. Says Io versus Rhea should be the WrestleMania match, not Liv versus Rhea. There's one big problem with this. And Triple H might be at the point where he's caring less about good guys, bad guys. But it's good guy and good guy here. It's two supremely over wrestlers. Io, her popularity is skyrocketing right now. And but that being said, if it was my choice, fuck yeah, I'd do this. hell, I would not give a shit. I wouldn't turn anybody either. I just let the crowd decide in this one. Because here's the thing, I think that they're both. Obviously, Rhea's like one of the cornerstones of WWE.
Yeah.
But like, I think the fans would get such a kick out of this match that they just be, it's like both these guys,
Yeah.
I think it'd be great. And look, we talked about this on the Raw recap yesterday on yesterday's show. Yeah, I understand that it's probably been stretched out because of the two injuries that Rhea has suffered during the course of this feud. But this thing needs to wrap up because it's sort of on its own island now. And yeah, they're bringing in a couple people here and there, but man, this can't be the end all be all. We need Rhea to get that title back, open it up. And by WrestleMania, are you kidding me? I would love to see Io Sky versus Rhea at WrestleMania. Do I think it's going to happen? Probably not. But yeah, there's still 5 months before WrestleMania. Yeah. I don't know if we can handle another 5 months of Rhea versus Liv.
The story is already pretty much running on fumes.
Yeah.
Liv and Rhea. And yeah, it's hard to say how much the injuries impacted kind of the timeline they had in mind for the story. But they seem to be angling this as, hey, this is a blow off at WrestleMania type situation. Initially.
Oh, yeah.
With the implosion of Judgment Day and stuff like that. Like that seemed to be the type of feud and story that would blow off at a major pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
And SummerSlam seemed too soon. That's when Rhea came back right before SummerSlam from the shoulder injury and lost to Liv. That's when Dom turned on her.
Yeah.
But like then it seemed like, okay, the trajectory seems this is to be the WrestleMania match. Even at that point they were 8 months out.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see how they could construct it to keep interest going. And maybe one of the missteps there was having Priest and Rhea be like, all right, we're gonna go our separate ways.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna go pursue our individual ambitions. Still friends, but on screen we're not going to be a team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Things started to lose steam there because then it became more. It's weird because it was still Rhea feuding individually with Judgment Day and Priest feuding individually with Judgment Day. Why not just do it together?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
It didn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, they definitely dropped the ball both on Rhea and Damian. There didn't seem to be much of a plan. And again, maybe injuries got in the way. I don't know. That hasn't been a thing for Damian, so I don't know what their excuse is there. But with Rhea, I wonder if the idea was we're going to make this a Mania thing, which obviously would necessitate Rhea moving away from Liv for a specific amount of time, coming back around to it because of the Rumble or the Chamber. And because of the injuries, it was like, okay, well, how do we write her out? Have Liv do it. So when she comes back, automatically she's going to go after Liv. And then it happened again. Mm-hmm. And so I wonder if that's the case. I wonder if it's we were going to move her away, but because she had to be written out, we had to bring her back to it. So who knows what the original plans were. The crowd still is into it. I understand that, there's a lot of online discourse. We get it all the time. Hey, this is running out of steam. I'm feeling it from a creative standpoint. You've indicated as such as well. Yeah. And hopefully they'll pay this off. Maybe at the January Saturday Night's main event.
Here's the thing to consider, too. Here's something to consider. We saw Dom talking to Nick Aldis in the background, SmackDown this last week. What if kind of the twist we've been kind of waiting for is Dom leaving Judgment Day to go, be his own man on SmackDown.
Yeah.
And so that's, one less person that Liv has to battle Rhea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, that's something. That's at least some story beat.
I would love, dude, one thing that has been noticeably absent for and I know there's always little bits here and there, but don't you think that the general handling of Dom's character needs to be addressed a bit? It needs to be, needs to be some creative, it's he just sort of is a eye candy for Liv, basically, always on her side. And then Finn will have a little spat with him, talk some shit about him. But even this past week on Raw, I noted there wasn't a big reaction or much of a reaction at all from him. There wasn't a backstage where he's like, hey, bro, fuck you. There wasn't, he's not really doing much. And yeah, maybe him talking to all this is part of that. But I'm just kind of curious what the plan is for him and his story, because he was such a terrific character for such a long time. But over the last month, he's sort of faded into the background a bit. And I'm just sort of curious, what the deal with that is. But I guess we'll find out eventually.
Yeah. Got another hot take here from Gabriel.
Okay.
Hot take.
Hot.
I'm only the only ones who can't stand main event Jey Uso.
Yes, he is.
All right, there we go. Next one. His in-ring repertoire hasn't changed from his tag days, he says. Reminds him of how Hollywood ruined Kevin Hart.
What? Oh, mate. Is there some sort of is Kevin Hart he was funny in the stand-up stuff, and then he got into movies and now he just sucks?
Maybe. I like Jey Uso. I know Steve likes Jey Uso.
Love him.
Yeet. A lot of the crowd likes Jey Uso.
Oh
I'd
my
say a
God.
vast majority. Maybe
Dude,
everybody.
he got the main event entrance at
He
War
did.
Games.
And it's, obviously has a lot to do with his charisma.
I like
and
your
his
hand placement right now. It's perfect because you're doing this.
doing this. Has a lot to do with his personality, his charisma, his connection with the crowd, but it's a natural evolution. The crowd was so invested in his journey in the bloodline, they want to see him succeed on his own terms.
It's a celebration of him overcoming his trauma.
Yep.
This is wild to me because how can you go back to 2020 and see everything this poor guy's been through and not want to celebrate every moment that it's possible, every victory of his, every moment that he has that's a good thing, and then every time he gets around Roman and he starts to do his body language, how much do you like, no, son, get out of there. Run away, run fast. I love whenever Sammy has his back. I love when he stands up as his own man. It is a journey we took with Jey Uso. And if this was, they were the Usos and then they get split up via draft and Vince packages them this way, then it's like, okay, well, I don't give a shit about them. Like maybe people wouldn't care. But given that this was all so organic and wonderfully written, man, I don't care how goofy the catchphrase is, what it means. His merch, I think, is awesome, actually.
Yeah, his merch looks really good.
I don't care about, I think that his theme song is really good. I think the total presentation is awesome. The guy was a tag specialist for 14 years. I would imagine that it's probably not the easiest thing in the world to then translate to a completely different style of wrestling. I think his wrestling is serviceable.
Yeah.
As a singles guy, is it ever overwhelmingly, oh my God? Maybe not. But I don't care because I've lived through the trauma with Jey Uso and I'm there for him.
And we want to see him succeed.
Yeah. Now look, I gave his Mania match with Jimmy, I think 2 stars, but
good.
It was not a good match.
No. Still want to see him succeed.
Absolutely. Next hot take.
AJ Otani, hot take.
Hot.
The Rock's involvement this year, including WrestleMania 40, was mid at best, and I don't want him coming back. Oh, I don't want him to keep coming back. Sorry.
Okay, well, that's a different thing. So yeah. I obviously disagree with the first part. I don't know how you can look at his stuff with Cody,
Don't call him Pharaoh, call him shithead.
Call him shithead, go back home and smoke some crack. I'm sorry, that shit is hilarious to me. I thought it was wholly entertaining. I thought it was awesome. I thought
you want to see? Sorry, let me interject real quick. You want to see if it would have been mid if it had been babyface Rock versus Roman Reigns.
Yeah, that would have been mid as hell because that's how it started out, and it was like, oh, this is boring. This whole I'm doing this stuff, but then when he would do it as a bad guy, it was awesome.
Yeah.
Rock breaking character, laughing it up with the fans and shit. I love all that stuff. I thought it was great. I thought it was so much fun. I'm not looking into his ulterior motives or ambitions as a businessman. Simply put, the final boss I thought was incredibly entertaining. All the 20-minute promos that he would drop on his iPhone, I thought were hilarious. Do I want him to keep coming back? I don't know about keep coming back. I do think they should do Rock versus Cody and probably Rock versus Roman. So I would be totally fine with the final boss coming back as long as he brought the same type of energy that he had before. I think it could be wildly fun. So me and AJ Otani are going to severely disagree on this one.
Yeah, I wouldn't describe what The Rock did. Final boss Rock did as mid. I thought for the most part it was pretty good stuff. 20-minute promos maybe a bit indulgent, but otherwise, it was all pretty entertaining.
Here's the thing about the 20-minute promos is that they were just all on social media, so it's like they're just there for you. If you want the ancillary content with him saying fuck a lot, they're there and they're hilarious. Or if you just don't want to watch them, that's cool too.
Yes. Oh, we got another one here from Gabriel. It says, hot take.
Hot take.
Rumor has it Finn is in for a push in 2025. If that's the case, Triple H has his work cut out for him. He's had too many years of being a losing wrestler. Set dressing for me to be invested anymore. The nail in the coffin was the loss to Edge at Mania. Yeah, if Edge was out the door, then there's no reason that he should have beat Finn Balor at WrestleMania. And it was a dog shit match, too.
Yeah, that was not a good match. So I don't know. Maybe I'm biased. I really enjoy Finn Balor's work right now, even doing what he's doing. I think he's fucking hilarious. I think number one, he looks super cool. He's always looked really cool, but he looks super cool. I like the whole listen to Finn and everybody win. I think that's hilarious. I don't know.
Sounds like
I
an
think
injury
it's funny.
lawyer, Steve.
I know it does, and that's why it's funny because it's so bad, and that's the point of it. Obviously, Judgment Day is not what it used to be, but I don't know. I still find the guy entertaining. And I think I think he is one of those dudes, kind of like Shinsuke, where people just want to see him, no matter what iteration of character it is. There's a certain subset of fans that are like, man, they gave him the world back in 2016. I want to see him be able to at least get one last run as world champion. I don't think it's going to happen, but I think this was a WrestleVotes thing. And if it does, I think that's fucking awesome. I think that's great. And I'll cheer super hard for it. But I don't think, I'll be honest, he's been such a prominent figure in Judgment Day, always being kind of the manipulative guy, that I don't know that an opportunistic world title win and run, I don't think that would be, I wouldn't, I'll put it this way. I think Shinsuke was buried more than Finn ever was. Like, Finn has always been prominent within Judgment Day. And so him sneaking in there and getting a world title somehow, I would be fine with it. I think that it would work in the story too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be interesting, especially to see how things shake out after the transfer window is closed. Because we've spoken about this a lot, about how the main event scene on Raw is stacked.
It's loaded.
It is absolutely loaded, whereas it seems like on SmackDown, Cody's kind of run through, save for Randy Orton, most of the main event competition he's got over there. And so unless there's some major shakeups that happen in this transfer window portal thing, I mean, you got at least a half a dozen people over on Raw that are World Heavyweight Championship contenders, not even including Finn.
Yeah.
What are they going to do, you know?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, Seth and Punk can't feud forever.
Yeah, it's super rarefied air right now, that both title scenes, because it's like one guy, you got Cody over there with his title, and it's like, what are you going to do with that? Because he's probably not going to lose anytime soon.
Nope.
But yeah, so I don't know. You're right about the transfer window. You got to wonder what's going to happen with that. Sorry, I just flashed some cat butthole to the people here. But yeah, I don't know. I'd love to see Finn get another world title run. Look, if Gunther loses, if Gunther loses at any of the next 3 events that they're about to put on, then we're going to have a really good sort of picture as to how they're going to treat the world title. The world titles.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to Daywalker. Says the Wyatt Sicks initial debut with backstage destruction will be their peak. WWE doesn't know how to handle dark and mysterious characters anymore. Also, that howdy mask and hair while wrestling isn't helping. So the second part of this, I kind of wish they'd explore the dichotomy of Bo Dallas, Uncle Howdy a lot more than what they do.
Yeah, I agree 1,000%. And
that includes losing the mask when he's wrestling.
Mm-hmm, yeah, no, I agree with that. I think he needs to take that. Okay, come on, stop that shit, Cat.
That being said, I'm not so quick to write. I mean, it seems evident that whatever high hopes we had for the Wyatt Sicks in terms of them on Raw creatively hasn't necessarily come to fruition. That being said, I'm not ready to kind of write them off yet as a total complete missed opportunity or their debut being their peak, because there's still a lot of potential there. It's just tapping into the creative potential of that faction. Will they do it? Don't know, but it's there.
Yeah, man. Give me fucking more Bo Dallas there in the arena without the mask doing promos and shit. He's so good. He's so good.
What if they did something like this with him, where the mask is kind of like his comfort? Mm-hmm. He hides behind the mask so that he can kind of keep his pain inside. He takes it off to wrestle and just lets it all out. It's catharsis for him. And as soon as the match is over, he puts it right back on.
I'd be cool with that. Entrances and exits. That's all. I don't like the mask.
But I mean, in that sense too, it'd feed into the, potentially into what they're doing with him as a character.
No, I like that. I think that's good. All right. Let's see here. Rick Ghastly here with a hot take says, I like this one. Alberto Del Rio had one of the best gimmicks and presentations of the 2010s. Personal ring announcer, video packages, the car, amazing music, all made his insanely fast push feel kind of justified. Also, he was a pretty underrated worker. And he clarifies here, he specifies that he's not a fan of Alberto, the person he said, because Alberto has been in the news and has a bit of a reputation, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not going to dive into that. So he's making it clear, hey, as the person versus the character, I couldn't agree with this more, Larson.
Yeah.
The music I loved. I thought it was awesome music. I thought the guy does have a great look. Very handsome guy. The car coming out, the personal ring announcer, and they explored their relationship a little bit. Let me put it this way. I'll put it this way. I honestly feel like, well, number one, also back then, unfortunately, Alberto was on the come up and got the big push right when CM Punk was getting hot. And so they did the thing where he got the title after the Money in the Bank thing. He cashed in on him, and then he lost it, I think, SummerSlam or something like that. And so if he had gotten... It's funny because Vince treated him like he used to treat people back in like the early 80s. He just bring people in, give them a main event spot, and then they'd be gone, and then they come back later. And it might have been like they might have needed to not push him so hard so quick, because they did push him really hard. Mm-hmm. But I can see why. Like, the guy did come off like a modern $1 million man. And he had it all. And I honestly think if Alberto had a stellar reputation as a person on the outside of WWE, I think we would have a much more much more of an appreciation for him.
It's interesting because during 2011, when I got back into watching wrestling, it's when I was introduced to Alberto Del Rio. I didn't necessarily see it in terms of him being a main event player.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a decent worker.
Yeah.
There's aspects of the presentation, the personal ring announcer, that I appreciated. I thought, oh, this is unique. This is interesting. This is a relationship you could explore. Mm-hmm. I didn't necessarily feel that his charisma translated through the television camera to me as a viewer.
Mm-hmm, sure.
I've mentioned this before, but when we saw him at that indie show out in the Bay Area where he's wrestling Moose,
yeah,
there you get it. I got it there.
Yeah.
But for some reason, it never translated through the television screen.
That's something you and I have talked about before, and it is the thing that I agree with completely, because he didn't have... It's like, golly, there was somebody else I feel like was this, where I was speculating, I bet you anything in person, they're wildly charismatic, but on camera it just doesn't click.
Yeah.
And that was kind of Alberto also. But sometimes, and I wonder if it's this, sometimes really good... I'll put it this way. Let me put it this way. Steve Austin, the ringmaster, versus Stone Cold Steve Austin.
All right.
You can't see shit with the ringmaster. I'm sorry, but coming through the camera, you're like, what is this guy?
Yeah.
The right creative opened it up, unlocked
possible.
it. And I wonder if that might have been the case with Alberto, because I guarantee you the ringmaster, Steve Austin, if you talk to him in person, you'd probably see it. It needs to be unlocked.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if that might have been, because I agree with you. When he talks in the camera and stuff, it's just like, it's just not clicking. It's not getting through to me. Some people have what we call camera charisma, where it's like, it just hits you.
Yeah.
It just absolutely hits you. And it's like, fuck. I mean, honestly, it's like kind of everybody in WWE these days. Like, they found a way to unlock everybody's natural charisma for the camera. But in terms of everything else, the presentation and whatnot, Alberto did get a royal treatment. He really did.
Absolutely.
I loved all that shit. But yeah. No, I don't disagree with you, though.
It seemed clear that Vince was really behind pushing him as a main event star.
Yeah.
And maybe it's a situation that if creatively he'd been put in situations that played more to his strength as a performer, maybe things would have been different.
Yeah, could be. Could be.
Finish up with this one. Trent Meehan here says, Larson is better than Steve at basketball. Has Trent been secretly watching our basketball games? Because if he had, this wouldn't be the take. I'm the AEW of to the two of us, the basketball players.
Oh, no.
Because I am wildly inconsistent.
Oh, man.
When I'm on, I feel pretty good about my chances. When I'm off, it's depressing.
Yeah. Like a lot of things, I feel. You know what? I will say this because I'll grant you this. You have your things that you are wildly better than me at, and I could never hope to achieve. I think naturally speaking, number one, basketball was never your number one sport. It was always baseball. I mean, basketball you might play on a more regular basis.
Yeah, I did probably. I mean, even growing up, I played a lot of basketball on a on a daily basis. I played more. Yeah,
I think for whatever reason, I think I've always been like you're always tinkering from time to time. Not always, but from time to time, you tinker, you reimagine your shot. Et cetera,
I did within the last year just completely reconstruct my jump shot, and so it's not second nature yet.
Yeah.
I have to think about it still.
Yeah, I think I've always just had that natural thing where basketball is the thing that I gravitated to. I've always loved it. I've always eaten it up. And so I think I'm probably naturally, I don't know. I think naturally speaking, I have a better shot than you.
Yeah.
You definitely have better handles.
You don't have to think about your shot. You just shoot it.
Yeah. You have way better handles than I do. I'm self-conscious about my handles. I think if I let my instinct take over, I'm a lot better, but I have a hard time doing that. Mm-hmm. I'm much better like with my shot instinctually, but no, I don't know. I think I've always had that little bit of an edge where if I'm having an off day, it's really, and you're having a good day, I'll probably eat it on the basketball court. So yeah.
Those good days are few and far between these days.
Man, I'm telling you, so compression pants I wear.
I got compression pants too, buddy.
I know. I'm just saying for me, they help me move so much better.
Not me.
It's crazy.
No, I feel like hell today.
Yeah.
It's that I'm a year older. That's what it is. Body's breaking down.
Yeah. I'm really curious to know what's going on inside my knees. I'm about to get on the horn with my doctor and
get some
be like, hey, let me get an x-ray. And just, I want to know. He's like, oh, are they okay? I'm like, I mean, I can move great in them. There's no pain, but like, I get the feeling because they're grindy.
Yeah. My right one grinds a little bit.
I just want to know what's going on, Anyways.
You're going to need a knee replacement, probably 10 years. That's what it is.
I don't want that.
It's a pretty standard procedure now. Recovery time's pretty quick.
I don't think I need it. Oh, dude, could you imagine? What if I came back like fucking Dakota Kai? Or Rey Mysterio. Oh my God.
Get some stem cells in there.
Get some stem cells on my knees, and then I'll be dunking on you, man. Yeah. Anyways, that's going to do it for the show today. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We appreciate it. Till next time, we'll see you guys around.
Goodbye.